We are back in the black hole of real estate, and as we head into the month of August, it sure feels like the school year is creeping up on us, and that will change some things in the real estate market. This is your host, Ron Wysokarski, for the black hole of real estate. And the fact is that many people move over the summer for their own reasons. One of the big ones is changing during the summer because of the school year. And it could be because you're changing school districts. Could be because the kids are no longer in school, going to college, or dropped out, or maybe they're just starting school. And it could be a job relocation, or maybe there's sports or academics or something causes you to want to move. And a lot of people, for the convenience of it, choose to move between the end of the school year and the start of the next school year. The taxes are done for the year, the vacations are planned, and for a lot of people, they can fit in a move. And maybe just because in order to sell the house, they need to have some weekend time to get the house ready to sell. And with the school year, it just seems that there's so many activities, it's kind of hard to do. Every year we see an uptick in listings, in showings, and most years pendings and closings because of that dynamic. But as we head into August, if you're looking to sell your home, the season is getting a little short for you, unless you're a cash buyer. I mean, Florida schools, they'll start in August. But even like right after Labor Day, you're in that 30-day window where if the home is not under contract and sold, then somebody's right back to moving during the school year, when for many people is just less convenient. And that's the reason it's convenient that people attempt to move over the summertime. Now, I would argue it's hot as all blazes out. It might make sense to move in December when it's cooler out for some people, at least in Florida. Up north, maybe it's not such a good idea if there's 3 feet of snow. But you get the idea. Moving becomes necessary when the home that you're in just no longer suits your needs. And most people live with that for a long time until the pain of being in that home is greater than the pain of moving and spending some money to move and then acquiring a house that you probably wanted all along. So what comes next? Well, again, if you're buying, you might feel a little bit of pressure to find the right house. Maybe you've been looking all summer long, but now like, oh, good God, the school year's coming up. I better buy something. And I believe that you're going to see a lot of marriages of convenience, if you will, where sellers want to make sure that they sell over the summertime for their own reasons, and buyers want to get in perhaps for the school year. I think that you'll see some deals made. I also know that if you're not involved in the whole school thing, you still need to pay attention to it because a large part of the audience is. And even though you may not have any kids in school and never had and could care less about it, most of your customers may be in that situation, unless you're in a high 55-plus community or higher age bracket where there's just no kids around. So it's not just what you want, it's what the audience is seeking as well. And it's the same thing if you're buying. So what I believe is this. We're going to see a little push. And when we look back in the month of July, probably the second half of July, you're going to see a little push. Whether or not interest rates go up or down at the Fed, I think that's going to become a neutral thing. People are so used to what the rates are right now that I don't know that a quarter point at this point is going to either cause someone to move because, oh my God, the rates went down a quarter point, or if they just stayed the same, like, I've been waiting for this quarter point, forget it, I got to move. I don't think it's enough to sway the market. Now, if it was a half point or a point, that would be different, but no one's expecting that. So I believe that the real pressure will not be the cost of money. It will be the pressure of continuing to live where you are, because now that it's less convenient and more painful, that's what's going to get people to move. It will break the inertia. Time is going to win out over money in this case. And maybe time wins out over money in most cases. If you think about it, how long do you want to wait around for the little bit lower rate and prevent yourself from being in the home that you want? And as a seller, are you going to hang on to the price that's been proven to not be attractive to buyers? Are you going to just hold your ground? I'm not dropping a penny in my price. You'll continue to own that property. It's a likelihood. It's a veritable lock. It's a certainty for you if you're going to play the stubborn game about it. I think there's going to be some marriages of conveniences here where somebody's going to, is there a price? Maybe it's not the price that I would pick every day of the week, but is it good enough? Is there a price that's high enough as a seller that makes sense? Is there a price that's low enough to a buyer that would also make sense? That's where these deals are going to happen. And it could just be, hey, it's 90 degrees out, it's frustrating, it's hot, I'm tired of waiting for the right house, or I'm tired of waiting for a buyer to buy my house. There's going to be some convergence here. There is every summer at this time. And my guess is we'll see an uptick in sales middle of July through the end of July into August. Some of these sales might not close till Labor Day or a little bit after, but something's going to turn. And I do think it's in the offing that we see more sales. It's been a slower year. Units are down. Prices are about the same. I know some areas are probably off a little bit, but in our areas, prices are within 1% or so. And through a half of a year, they could easily rebound. I'm not suggesting that prices are going through the roof, but I'm also saying that I don't see prices dropping. And if they do, it'll be such a small amount that when rates eventually go back up, there'll be a boomerang. It'll bounce right back. And I'm not anticipating that there are deep discounts on the horizon. I think most of that would have happened by now. If you're looking at new construction, there's been some heavy discounts there to taper off some of the inventory, but I think they've done most of what they need to do, and I think that will normalize itself. There's likely to be some change in interest rates, and if it's not in July, then maybe it's coming up in the months ahead. There's 3 more Fed meetings for the rest of the year. I think there'll be some give and take on that, but at this point, I think historically rates in the 6s are about average. We were spoiled for several years of much lower rates. And if you got a 3% or a 4%, well, maybe just keep the house and rent it out and let somebody keep paying that off for you, because that's a wealth building strategy for you. And maybe a lower down payment than you might have put on the next home otherwise, well, that might be okay too. Somewhere down the road, you'll likely be able to refinance, and a lot of companies are still offering, 5 years, they'll waive the lending fees in order to refinance somewhere down the road when the rates get cheaper. So that could be your best of both worlds. But it's August. And for some, time is running a little bit short. There's absolutely areas of the country where you want to sell between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And if you're in a cold weather area, it might become less attractive for people to move just because of the weather. But the schools play a part of it too. So August is a time where we look and identify which homes are going to sell and close in September or sooner, and which ones are going to linger. There is a lot of data that shows that September is probably in the top 1 or 2 months where sales really don't happen. It's always been a quiet month in our business, and interestingly, November, December has always been pretty good for us. And I know people say, nobody moves over the holidays, end of the year. And I'm like, I don't know. We always seem to get an uptick in business. There's always an investor that has to sell something for the end of the year for tax purposes. There's always an investor who has to buy something at the end of the year for tax purposes. And the fact is that sometimes, some schools, especially colleges, some will finish, in end of November, December. There's movement over there. I think people move for their own reasons at certain times of the year. But I know if there's going to be an uptick, I would say over the next 6 weeks between now and Labor Day, maybe a little bit after, I think you'll see something after that. And then maybe it does taper off again, but we'll see. Maybe that's the time the Fed moves in with the lower interest rates. And then that will push the market forward even further. Either way, you've got some information, but it's August. And it feels like we're 2/3 of the way through, because we're coming around that time of year where time is getting short. Soon enough, you'll probably be seeing Christmas decorations out at all the stores, if you go to stores anymore. All right, that's what I got for you this week. I hope that this helped you out about just some time and presence of mind of where we're at in the market and where it might be going. This is your host, Ron Wojciechowski, for the Black Hole of Real Estate.